Welcome to So I Married a Film Critic, a discussion between a professional film critic and lecturer and me, his wife of 20 years, who just likes to watch movies for fun. I'm your co-host, Julia.
And this is Barry the Film Critic. Hello, everyone.
And tonight we decided to watch a horror movie.
Oh, yeah. So scary. Jaws 2.
When the movie Jaws first opened, it created a sensation. And shark sightings increased by the thousands in all the vast and unknown depths of the ocean. How could there have been only one? Was a terrible tragedy here. But today, Amity has a new hotel and the promise of a perfect summer. Now, just when you thought it was safe to go back in the water, the legend continues.
Harry! Chief Brody, can we go, please?
I think we may have another shark problem. Are you serious?
Roy Scheider.
The homies was incredible.
Lorraine Gary. And Murray Hamilton.
Look at this. That's a shark.
None of man's fantasies of evil can compare with the reality of Jaws. The all-new Jaws 2. See it before you go back in the water.
Now, I wanted to talk about this for a few reasons, one of which is this is a sentimental favorite for me. I really like this film a lot. And I know the obvious question is, why aren't we talking about Jaws, the original Jaws? I feel like Jaws has become like Citizen Kane. It's one of those movies that's been talked about to death. I mean, there are documentaries, there are books, there are so many things to look at in terms of a Jaws comprehensive lecture, let alone a podcast. So I thought, let's talk about the sequel, because this is interesting. I mean, this is the sequel to the ultimate summer movie. Because Jaws, when it came out, I mean, that was the movie that set the precedent. It's like, it's May. This is when these things happen, these big event popcorn movies, these big films where everybody wants to go inside. It's hot summer. It's air conditioned. It's time for a popcorn movie. It's time for a monster movie or a special effects movie. Spielberg's film set the precedent. There were other movies, of course, that came out during the summer, but Jaws was the one that set the thing like, hey, like if it's May or June, you know there's going to be a big popcorn movie coming out. And Spielberg said it with his first film. And then ever since then, with Star Wars came out 2 years later, then, Superman the following year. So Jaws 2 came with a lot of baggage. Just like, how do you top Jaws, which is like, at the time, it was the top grossing film of all time until Star Wars came out.
Okay, well, I have a confession.
Okay.
This is my favorite Jaws movie.
Cool. Okay, and I dig that. I totally dig that. And that's interesting because it's not my favorite Jaws movie. Jaws 3D is no, I'm kidding. No, the first Jaws is. I guess from the outset, I'll say that I came to the Jaws franchise really late. I was born in 1977, so I mean I was one when this movie came out.
You weren't watching Jaws as an infant?
My mom took me to see Jaws 2 the day it opened up, and at the age of 1, I'm like, it kind of lacks in the second act, but the protagonist really resting. Can I have some more milk, please? I just soiled myself. No, I did not see Jaws in the theater. No, I think the first Jaws I ever saw, was Jaws: The Revenge. I think the fourth one was the first one I ever saw. My mom didn't want me seeing the Jaws movies because I love to swim and I love to go to the beach. So I think she tried to shield herself from these movies from me. So yeah, I managed to avoid them just because, again, they kind of came a little before my time. It was kind of like Saturday Night Fever. But when I was in college, my brother Marty, hey Marty, the editor of this show, Marty told me, because I admitted to him I'd never seen Jaws before. It was like the one Spielberg movie I just never got around to seeing. And he said, what you want to do is read the book by Peter Benchley and then watch the movie back to back, which I did. And I'm really glad I did that because it was, for one thing, the book and the movie are very different. The book actually deals with sort of a romance triangle, love triangle, because the Richard Dreyfuss character is having an affair with the Sheriff Brody's wife. Oh. So it's a different thing when you bring that to the story.
I thought you were going to say that the shark was like seeing another shark or something.
No. The shark is in love with Roy Scheider and a tiger shark. Which one do I choose? Dun, 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 dun.
Oh, okay.
So is this the first Jaws you ever saw?
I don't know. I don't remember which was the first one. But the first Jaws is significantly more scary. Jaws 2, way more fun.
It's got some jump scares, though. It's got some really good shock effects, surprisingly. I'd forgotten about it until we saw it last night.
It does, but the shark doesn't look as real as in the first one.
Oh, no, not at all.
No,
yeah, the problem is we get to see a lot more of it.
You get to see so much.
That's a problem, yeah.
That's why it's so funny. And then you see, like, we have Jaws vision, where he's, like, swimming super fast, like, trying to catch up to people. And then you see it, and it's like, what?
We get shark vision. We even get fin vision. There's a point where the camera's like, it's almost like they stuck it onto the fin as the shark is headed for somebody. It's some fun stuff.
Yeah. That's why, there were moments last night where I was like laughing and it's just funny. And, it's a bunch of teenagers. They have like this sailing group, and they go out sailing all the time. And these these boats don't look like they should be on the water. It's, like, not good. In the Atlantic Ocean, come on.
Oh, come on. You want a catamaran? It's easier for the shark. It's more fun for the shark when you're in a catamaran.
Yeah, well, there is one catamaran. But some of these, they're like dinghies.
Yes, dinghies with little sails.
Yeah. And it's like, why? Why are they out there in these tiny boats? So there's a little bit of... It's just kind of funny.
Well, the shark sees these kids. He cracks his fins and says, challenge accepted.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so we also found out that this Amity Island isn't a real island. And it's supposed to be like part of New York, so not that far from New York City. But it's actually filmed in Martha's Vineyard. So it's filmed in like this ritzy Ritz place, but it's supposed to be like for the common folk.
And I guess it's an interesting contrast. That's the thing I've always liked about these first two movies. Not only do they feel like they exist in the same world, but it's real working class. It's really down to the earth, salt to the earth. The fact that, Sheriff Brody is just, he's just doing his job. He's trying to get day to day. He's got, and we'll talk about it more as we progress, but he has the most incompetent people working under him. This poor guy working with these idiots and then having to deal, with the bureaucracy and the tourism bureau and all this junk. And then, by the way, some shark shows up and starts eating tourists.
Yeah, exactly. He's the only one who's like really trying to protect people, and everyone else is all about the money.
Yeah, because the first two movies, they do feel like they exist in the same world. The third one, not so much. The third one is literally SeaWorld. It's literally SeaWorld in Florida. I think I think it's actually California. California. And then the fourth one is back to Amity, but it becomes a fantasy when Mrs. Brody takes a vacation
to the
Bahamas, and the shark follows her, which is just it's still one of the most insane plot devices that because there's a line in this movie where in Jaws 2 where someone says, for sharks it's not personal, and then ironically of all things, by the fourth film, the tagline is this time, it's personal for the shark. I'm gonna get her. Dun, 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 dun. All that swimming.
Oh my gosh. Okay, well, let's get into it because our first scene is basically a diving mission to see the boat that sunk in the first film at the very end.
Which is pretty cool. Yeah, that's a neat way to pull us in.
Yeah.
I like it. And the John Williams score is lovely. I love that he is not just repeating he does this with anything, like with Indiana Jones and Star Wars. Every time John Williams adapts a new chapter, and I really feel like adapt is the word because his music is such a strong character in these movies. You can't imagine these movies without it, especially not Jaws. But the opening of music of this movie, it's like harps. It's really lovely. It's definitely a different score than the prior film. But sure enough, we see these idiot divers and they're going to the wreckage of the Amity and they're taking pictures and they're acting like goofballs. And sure enough, we get shark vision and we hear the familiar 2-note indication that they're about to be munched.
And they have this massive camera underwater.
Yeah.
They even have underwater cameras back then? I guess they did.
I'm sure they did, yeah.
But this
is the Jacques Cousteau era,
but this thing is huge.
Yeah.
And it just takes pictures.
You should have seen their phone.
Yeah. This camera's like taking pictures on its own.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, oh, well, we're going to see those photos later on. So
yeah, but it's goofy because you don't see the shark. You just see the close-ups of these actors in diving gear going, ah! There's a lot of bubbles. And you see that the camera's taking pictures and lots of, more bubbles. And we cut to another scene.
Yeah. And it's Sheriff Brody or Chief Brody, I guess I should say, in his police car, just like hauling buns to a ball. It's a charity event put on by his wife.
Talking about the lamest thing. So he walks in and it's like a high school band playing Downtown by Petula Clark. The saddest thing I've ever heard. Do you think any of these kids like, oh, I hate this. Can't we do like Zeppelin or Chicago? No, they got to do Petula Clark. Downtown. Yeah, as a high school band. Oh, man.
I think the
Agony.
scene is supposed to show us that his wife works for the mayor and she's kind of, working for the man.
Yeah, she's sold out to the man. He has not. He is a servant of the people. He is. He's a good guy and she means well, but she's just, her boss is terrible.
Yeah. And he's kind of like, hey, will you make sure that everyone's getting drinks and they're all happy and stuff? And
he's like, thanks, sweetheart. Walks away, slaps on the butt. Like, these guys. These guys ruined the 70s for us.
I know. You have Miss Amity in her bathing suit, like doing a ribbon cutting.
Oh, God, Miss Amity.
And then all these balloons just like fall into the pool. And you're like, oh, that was a sad balloon drop.
Do you think she goes to like a Miss Universe pageant, introduces herself, and they're just like, did you guys see Miss Amity?
Well, the thing I noticed, so she's holding these scissors, and the guy's kind of like, come on, sweetheart, like, do it faster. Like, she's supposed to be cutting a ribbon.
Come on, sweetheart.
Yeah, it's so rude.
Such chauvinism from the very top of the hour, too. Yeah, what do you think her speech was like? So, Miss Amity, if you could change Amity in one way, what would it be?
More peace.
More peace, less sharks. That's it. You're Miss Amity. Congratulations. Come here, sweetheart, for a picture.
Okay, so then we kind of cut to, we see a fin in the water.
Dun, 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 dun.
Yeah, and it's like
always well done.
Okay.
I love that ominous shot of a fin.
Yeah,
it's probably a lot harder than it looks to actually get a fin perfectly in frame, and you can't see the guy like swimming under it. Like, is this high enough? Is this high enough? So, I admire. It's a very simple special effect, but I gotta say, I admire the guy who has to get out there and get it right in the frame.
And then we meet all these high school kids who are going
dead meat. That's what they are.
They're sailing together. They're having water balloon fights. I mean,
yeah, these guys.
They're having a great time.
It's the archetype. It's the hot girl. It's the bookish girl. It's the nerdy guy. It's the studly guy. It's the football hero. It's the quiet guy. It's the artist. Yeah, they're all.
They have no personality.
No, they're all archetypes. But you know what? This is 1978. This is the same. In fact, this is a few months before it. This is the same year as John Carpenter's Halloween. This is one of the earliest teen slasher films. It is. And the fact that it's a Jaws sequel and that the villain is not a human.
Yeah.
It's the fact that it's a fishy fish. Dun, 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 dun.
Because they don't need to come up for air.
But they're killing machines, just like Michael Myers and Freddy Krueger. So this movie came out like a year before Phantasm, but the same year as John Carpenter's Halloween. So it's an interesting thing of, of being an early example of a very well, a genre that would be really like, they really hit the ground running this year. Arguably Bob Clark's Black Christmas in 1973. That's the first real example of, the real first like forerunner of a teen slasher movie. But this is one of the earliest examples, and it's a good one.
I know, but isn't it bad to like put sharks in the same category as Michael Myers? I mean, they're not. The sharks in these Jaws movies are nothing like real sharks.
No, they're giant killer sharks. But I mean, yeah. Did this movie bastardize the depiction of sharks? Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. All right. Just wanted to be clear that we're not for that.
we're pro shark, you and I.
We're not pro like the unnecessary killing of sharks, No.
I mean, no, it's a good point. I mean, these movies in particular did a really good job of making sharks, a lot scarier than perhaps they are. But at the same time, we do where you and I live.
They don't stalk people.
No, of course not. They don't. But of course, we do live where you and I live. I mean, there are frequent shark attacks.
I mean, more frequent than I think people would want to know about.
Yeah, and we'll get into that because, I mean, this movie is about a town that is full of shark attacks, but it's still a popular tourism destination.
Yeah, but I mean, the thing that we talk about a lot here is what you can do to protect yourself. Like what are the signs to look for to not go swimming? And one of the signs is don't swim in murky water. The water in this movie, murky all the time.
Yeah. Well, that way you can hide how fake the shark looks.
That's true. Okay. All right. So enough of that. But so the kids are out. They're in their ramshackle sailboats that probably shouldn't be sailing. Back to Chief Brody's incompetent team.
Oh man, these guys are the worst.
They find the camera. Like they go like diving.
Yeah, well,
he find it.
Yes, and he asks for two of his stooges to comb the water. Basically, they got to like trudge through.
No, that's not yet.
Oh,
that's
sorry.
later.
That's coming
that's
up.
Later.
All right. Yeah,
that's later. But okay. So then we see like kids parasailing. Oh man, this is like the craziest parasailing we've ever seen.
Yeah, I've never seen This is where the sail itself kind of inflates and deflates. It just seems like a really easy way to crash. I don't know. It just doesn't seem all that safe.
So Chief Brody's son, Mike, is on the parasailing.
This is his oldest son.
His oldest son. And he keeps falling into the water. And the shark is like, just like, he's got his fins together.
Closer,
just waiting.
Closer. Yeah.
And he almost gets him.
Yeah.
But like, the crazy thing is, this shark is so big, but like nobody sees it.
Well, with the movie,
he's really good at hiding.
It's like the John Williams music and the camera is what almost gets him. We actually never see the shark in this scene.
Well, okay, but still, it's Jaws.
Yeah, I mean, I do wonder how close it actually did get, but. Okay. So anyway, yeah. So he manages to avoid because it does. I mean, the music is swelling. The camera's getting closer and closer to a leg. We feel like we're about to, but no, it doesn't happen yet.
Okay,
More
now
later.
This is the water skier scene.
Yeah,
is next, and it's just this girl, driving a speedboat with a water skier behind her.
Yeah,
and the Jaws starts following at like super speed.
We're just gonna call it Jaws, then, aren't we?
Yeah,
the Jaws.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah.
Well, what should I call him?
Bruce.
Bruce? No.
That's what they call me, Universal. No?
Oh, you can call him Bruce if you want.
I'm going to call him Bruce.
Okay. So it's like the camera shows like the underwater with like the speedboat and the wake and the girl skis.
Well, it's like, is this shark going 35 miles an hour? I mean, this shark is fast to keep up with this girl.
Yeah, super fast. And then
no wonder he can make it to the Bahamas so quickly.
He bites the ski and pulls her down. And then, so she's down. And so the girl driving the boat, like, turns around. And
after a while, she turns around.
Yeah.
I figured she'd notice, like,
it takes her
I'm not pulling anybody.
Yeah, it takes her a while. But the shark just, like, breaks the boat. And the driver, who we find out her name is Terry, she fires a flare gun at Jaws and the whole boat explodes.
Well, the first thing she does is she tries to pour gasoline on Jaws.
Yeah.
And that doesn't work. She means to explode the shark, and she ends up burning herself to death and blowing up her whole boat.
Yeah. And he does catch on fire a little bit, the shark.
Oh, yeah, that's true, because then he's scarred for the rest of the film. But
yeah.
I gotta say, this was the scene, the first time I saw this.
Is he out for revenge because of this? Wow. I feel like this is why he continues his... his quest.
Yes. Well, it's pretty. I mean, this is the scene. The first time I saw this, I thought, okay, this is not as good as the first movie because look how hard they're trying. This is ridiculous. I mean, it's spectacular. It's kind of similar to Halloween 2. Halloween 2, of all things, Halloween 2 came out in 1981. And Halloween 2 has a scene at the beginning of the film where a car crashes into what they think is Michael Myers and the car explodes. It's within the first 10 minutes of the movie. When you resort to this sort of thing that early, it does feel kind of desperate to keep the audience's attention. Because let's face it, this movie doesn't really kick in until the third act. That's when things really get in motion, when everybody's out in the water. Everybody is, all the main characters are on the water. The movie doesn't even really bother to be landlocked anymore. But at this point, it's like we're, kind of pull the audience in with a lady trying to burn Jaws, sets herself on fire, and explodes a boat. And the witness is a little old lady who's like, I saw the whole cotton picking thing. She just blew up, went up like a light.
Yeah, but no one sees the shark at this point.
Right.
Except the people that are dead.
Yeah, it looks like a lady tried to start a campfire on her boat and then blew up the boat.
Right. So Chief Brody wants his police guys to drag the ocean.
This is the part, man.
Oh my gosh. But seriously, there's two guys. I mean, the ocean is huge. And he's like, yeah, drag the ocean. And they're just like, what? I got to get home to dinner.
Oh, God, this is so boring. My gosh, are we done yet? These guys are such idiots. I mean, you and I have known law enforcers who work in small towns where nothing happens. You hear about that, oh yeah, it's like a great gig because it's a small town. I don't have to worry about anything other than like a cat in a tree. This is Amity. This is a town where just a few years ago, they needed 3 people to go out and kill this shark that was eating people. So now, there's another chance. There's a chance that there's something wrong in the water. And this is Chief Brody, who's really the king of this town. He's the one protecting us, real servant of the people. And he tells these guys, who I'm sure have been just pushing pencils for years, to do something interesting. And they're just like, oh, God, they actually say, I'm bored. It's so boring out here. How much more to this ocean do we have to drag? Oh,
but you
idiots. This is the most exciting thing you've done all year.
But they end up pulling up this huge power line. And they're like, oh no, we better put this back before the whole island loses power. And I'm like, oh my gosh.
The scene is there for 2 reasons. One, to set up the third act.
Right.
And another reason is to demonstrate what idiots these guys are. These guys came so close to creating a power outage in Amity.
Or electrocuting themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I'm like, whose idea was it to try and bury huge power lines underwater? I don't know.
Well,
seems dangerous.
Yeah, well, that goes back. There's all sorts of examples of that. But anyway.
Okay.
Yes.
So now the next thing I wanted to point out was Cheerios has a big did they pay to be in this movie?
They had to have, because it's aggressive. Because Chief Brody's wife, played by the wonderful Lorraine Gary, she's pouring cereal for kids. Kids, it's Cheerios, and she looks at the camera and smiles, holding a box. I'm like, you got to be kidding.
And they're like, we want Fruit Loops. She's like, no, you're having Cheerios.
You want Cheerios, kids. What were the Cheerios people we got to be in Jaws too. Whatever it takes. Just send them a blank check. Whatever it takes. We got to be in Jaws too. I wonder if they came up with a Jaws spin-off of Cheerios where instead of O's, they're shaped like little shark fins.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Or it's still the O, but it's jagged on the inside.
Yeah.
So it looks like his teeth.
That's right.
Yeah.
Adding some bite to your Cheerios, dude.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Some bite to your breakfast. Oh my gosh.
Why would they want to be a part of it? I don't get that. It's such a weird product placement. This is a movie about a shark that eats people.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
This movie has a body count of 12, 15 people?
Yeah.
Have some Cheerios, kids.
Okay, so we have our teens out on their boats again, and they're on a smaller island, and we have Tina, who's the hot girl, they just keep showing Tina and her boyfriend making out all over Amity.
Now, was Tina Miss Amity, or is it that different character?
No, I think it's Miss Amity.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because doesn't she have a boat named after her?
Yes, and I wrote that down. The boat's name is Tina's Joy.
Oh, man. You know it's on if you're going on Tina's Joy. That's like that monkey business boat from the late 80s.
Yeah. So we just see them kind of making out on the boat.
Tina and the dude. Her latest
on
conquest.
The sand. Yeah, everywhere. But they find a dead killer whale with huge bites out of it.
Huge, big bites. Yeah. It's a good prop.
Yeah, and they don't know what bit the whale. So, they bring out an expert, like a whale shark expert.
I kind of wonder if this role was originally written to be the Richard Dreyfuss character coming back, because famously Dreyfuss was just booked after Jaws. I mean, he had like Close Encounters and The Goodbye Girl. I mean, the guy was just absolutely booked. And Robert Shaw, who played Quint in the prior film, not only was he killed off, you couldn't bring him back because he was in The Deep, another Peter Benchley adaptation. So he was booked. Roy Scheider apparently had time, so they pulled him back into Jaws 2. Apparently he didn't want to do it as a contractual thing. He kind of went in there kicking and screaming. But I do kind of wonder if the script was kind of reconfigured to have, like, for example, this character who has a lot of screen time and she has a lot of exposition, but you never see her again.
Yeah, and she just kind of keeps saying the same thing over and over, like they're measuring this bite, and then she's like, well, I don't know. We'll have to wait and see what it is. Like, she just kind of keeps repeating that over and over.
They really could have found a more dynamic actor. They should have got like a Helen Mirren type, like, we'll just see what happens when we put this under the microscope. Somebody who's like, ooh, instead of this lady's like, yeah, whatever, it's a bite. We'll find out.
I know. But you're right. They do spend a lot of time with this scene for it to really not come up with anything.
And it's another bit of, putting the plot business in order, because it's established, basically it's another line talking about electrical shock.
I don't know if the whale is... No, the whale is just like bitten, really. Like, it's just a huge bite.
Isn't there a line that she has where she talks about... I swear there's a line that kind of sets up the ending of the film, how you can destroy a shark like this.
Oh, I don't remember.
It's like a power line. There's a bit of exposition where she sort of hints. She gives him the initial idea that, a rhythmic pattern. A rhythmic pattern can attract a shark. Yeah, so she says that.
Yeah, it has nothing to do with power lines, but she's talking about how sharks are attracted to sound waves.
Yeah, and that becomes that's a huge point that comes up in the third act.
Mm-hmm. So Chief Brody, he goes and talks to the mayor, and he's like, we might have another shark. And the mayor just doesn't want to believe him.
This mayor, man.
He's just kind of like, I think he's like selling timeshares or something with Brody's wife, because
he's such a jerk.
He just is like, no, we're not doing this again.
Such a slant. Yeah, this is Mayor Vaughn. Oh my God. Murray Hamilton's a wonderful actor. He's returning to the role. This is the true villain of this movie. It's not the shark. It's this idiot. That's one thing that I don't quite get with this movie, because and maybe there's something to talk about here, because as I mentioned, where you and I live, there's a lot of, we certainly hear about shark attacks, and they happen, and it's like, oh, okay, for a day or two, people don't go to that beach, they move on, but then they return to the beach eventually. So it's like, when a shark attack happens here, it's a scary thing, we take it seriously, especially if there's a victim involved.
Well,
it's like, oh my God.
They put up a sign, and then people like go a mile down to a different beach,
right,
like pretending like the water's not connected.
Yeah. But in any case, the point being that, these things happen, but then we move on. It's like, okay, I've swam in waters where I knew like a shark attack happened.
Well, because everyone's like, oh, wow, a shark attack? Yeah, you're in their home. I mean, people get really like uppity about it.
Well, there's a few ways to look at it. One of which, a lot of attacks that I'm familiar with that happen out here is that people go, they go skinny dip. It's like the beginning of Jaws. They go skinny dipping like at 4 a.m.
Oh, yeah.
And they like, dun, 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 dun. You're like, look, if you're going to swim naked at 4 a.m., you got your steak necklace on. Look, it's going to happen, okay?
Your steak necklace?
Your lucky steak necklace. Don't you swim with that? It's going to happen. So the point I'm trying to make here is that, so it's established that, yes, 2 years earlier, this chief was a part of the three, the magic three that went out there and defeated this shark, and they did it in a really spectacular fashion, and they, saved lives by getting rid of this shark. Now, it seems like everybody in this movie has amnesia about this except for Chief Brody. It kind of drives me crazy, because for one thing, there's no mention of Quint, the Robert Shaw's character. There's no mention of the Richard Dreyfuss character. And other than, Brody, the way Brody mentions it, he always sounds like a crazy person. He's like, look, I know a thing or two about sharks. Okay, I've seen a shark. I know what a shark looks like.
And it's like,
and they're like, sure you have. Yeah, no, you idiots. This town was terrorized by a shark.
Okay, that brings up another question. Like, don't you think they would have said like, ooh, I wonder if that shark like had babies?
Sure.
Because like, could there be another one of like this line of sharks that could then be this aggressive again? But nobody ever brings that up.
There's that. Yeah, exactly. I mean, if there's that, it's also the question of why Amity? Why are giant, killer, aggressive sharks attracted rather to this little town? That's a valid question the movie never addresses. But it is. I mean, I get Roy Scheider's frustration. It's like, oh my gosh, nobody in this town gives him benefit of the doubt. If anything, if there's even an inkling of a shark attack, I'd be like, oh, call Chief Brody. He's the guy. Okay, the other two guys are gone. He's the last great shark hunter in this town. He would know. Instead, like, he mentions shark to the mayor and the idiot boss of Lorraine Gary, and they're treating him like he's a moron.
Yeah,
and it's like, oh my gosh, like, no, this is your guy. Like, and clearly there's a shark problem. And I mean, I get it. The movie's trying to talk about bureaucracy. It's like these are the idiot politicians. All they care is about the bottom line. They care about tourism. They care about the infrastructure of the town. I understand that. But it's also a plausibility problem because look, like, I mean, we reference this all the time. Like, if there's ever an issue of terrorists in movies, it's like, okay, oh, who's that Nakatomi Building guy? John McClane. Find McClane. Like, that's the crux of those movies because they understand in that world, if it's involving a building or a cluster of terrorists, you call John McClane. So in this case, it's a shark. They got Brody on staff, and they're like, no, idiots. Oh, it's not a shark. Okay. Go back to helping cats out of trees and helping old ladies cross the street.
Yes. No, you're right. It is kind of infuriating. But okay, so later on, after I think it's like the next day, Chief Brody's just like driving his truck on the beach for some reason. I don't know, checking things out.
That's how he winds down. He can't handle it at home at Lorraine Gary and her Cheerios. Like, I got to get out of that house. Those stupid kids and their video games. They're playing Pong. I got to go and just drive myself, have some brewskis, just do some beach driving.
No, he's like on the job. He's not driving. He doesn't have a roadie with him.
He's, doing like, some figure eights in the sand. Gonna run over those stupid sandcastles left by those tourists. Yes.
He runs over sandcastles.
This is how I wind down.
Okay, well, he sees like a part of a boat in the water.
Yeah.
And he goes in, and when he flips it over, it's the burned lady who exploded herself. And that's
great.
A jump scare.
Oh,
totally.
It's such a great jump. No, it's great because this scene is slow. I don't know, like, you're afraid because he's going near the water. It's like, man, I don't want this guy anywhere near the water considering what he survived in the prior movie. But it turns out he doesn't have to worry about the shark. It's this charred corpse that like leaps at him like, hoo-ah. It's great.
And then what? The next scene, he's making cyanide tip bullets.
He does not waste any time. Like, I've been through this before. Yeah, cyanide tip bullets.
Yeah, I didn't even know what he was
in
doing
his office.
Until you said
yeah,
that.
And he uses wax to seal it. Like, oh man, he's so good at this. If there is a werewolf loose in this town, this guy knows what to do.
Okay, so one of his other officers like comes in and he covers up the bullets, and the guy is like kind of trying to snoop around. Like, he's trying to keep this a secret, right?
Yeah, he doesn't. Well, he knows what's up. And he doesn't want to like start getting into full paranoia mode. But again, it's like anybody in this town should give this guy a listen if he has anything to say about a shark. But he's like, I think it's also the pressure because the idiot boss and the tourism season is beginning and the mayor, like, they're putting all this pressure. Like, we got all these people coming in, and it's a big time of year, blah blah blah. So he's trying to keep it under wraps. But like, he's in full battle mode. It's like, look, this thing took a giant bite out of a whale. It did a roasted marshmallow on this idiot lady. So clearly this is just the beginning.
So he tells his officer, like, go get the photos developed from that camera you found. Like,
And of course, his lackey's like, oh, it's so boring. Okay.
it's like,
Why?
is it even open right now? I don't even know.
Oh, I hate this job.
All right, so Chief Brody later on tells his son Mike that he doesn't want him sailing anymore, which,
Yeah.
like, yes, don't have them sail in these, like, ring-a-ding dinghies.
Ring-a-ding dingies.
So he's like, I have a job for you. And so he has him, like, painting at the beach. And, oh, man, Mike is
Probably
just-
shouldn't have him painting at the beach. It should have been like, paint the rec center, paint the church,
Yeah, he's, like,
paint the
outside in
post
the
office.
hot sun.
It's like right next to the ocean water.
And then Brody's up on his tower, just, like, watching the water. And the mayor wants to get, like, they're all looking up, like, all the people that know Brody. They're, like, looking up, like, what's he doing up there? How long has he been up
Isn't
there?
that a shark tower? Yeah, it's great. It's great.
And then he's like, let's get these people away before they notice. So Brody's up there and he, like, notices a shark and rings the bell. Like,
he
"Get
sees
out of
this.
the water!"
It's plausible. He's got his binocs. He sees this dark, shadowy shape in the water, and it's coming closer to all the people. So yeah, he has this moment of panic. He rings the bell, comes down, and this scene breaks my heart, but it also bothers me because he rings the bell. He runs down. He guns blazing. He fires some
He's, like,
bullets,
shooting into the water.
and someone's like, "No, it's a school of fish! It's a school of fish!"
Yeah.
And so it's this moment where, like, everyone's like, shame on you. And, Brody has this terrible moment where he's just kind of like on the beach.
Everyone's freaking out.
They are, but
Well, he's shooting at the water. I mean, that's a little ridiculous.
he's the shark guy.
I know, but I've never heard of that ever.
Look, if Independence Day 2, it doesn't open this way, but if Independence Day 2 opened up with Randy Quaid, like, pointing to the sky, be like, they're back! And he's, like, firing guns at the sky, be like, yeah, okay.
Randy Quaid?
Randy Quaid. Independence Day. Remember,
Yes,
Randy Quaid saved the world.
I know.
He saved the world.
All right.
Show some respect, okay?
Well, so Brody feels bad, and everyone is just kind of like,
They're so hard on him.
yeah, they're like parents are like holding their kids, like, come on, let's go home.
Look how shameful that man is. Trying to protect us like that.
Ruined our beach day. All right, so he gets the photos back that are developed, and he's like watching them develop in real time because this guy is developing them in front of him, and then he sees like
It's the 70s. Things are slower in these
he
movies.
sees what he thinks is the shark's eyeball, but really it could be anything, right?
No, of course it's the shark's eyeball. Now you sound like the mayor, Jules. Yes, it's the shark's eyeball and a little bit of the teeth.
Okay,
yes,
well,
of course.
He takes it down to like the city council meeting with the mayor, and they don't believe him, and
That drives me insane. It's like, it's obviously a shark's eye and teeth. It looks like the shark is grinning at him. And they're like, no, we don't see it. This could be a goldfish.
Martin, this is kind of an official meeting.
Good. I'm glad you're all here. I've got something to show you. Look at this. Fogarty just developed it. It came out of that camera from the missing divers.
Seaweed? I don't know. What is it?
It's underwater, isn't it? That's why it's so dark.
Nothing I can see.
What are you talking about? Look at this. That's a shark. Look at the outline. Look at the mouth, the eyes.
Is that what it is? Sorry, I just don't see it.
Neither do I. It's nothing.
Martin, it could be anything.
Wait a minute. Are you people telling me I don't know what a shark looks like?
Brody, this is nothing. Seaweed, mud, something in the lens.
Lens my ass.
You're damn right it's your ass.
Now, be reasonable, please.
Reasonable what? With him?
God damn it, will you listen to the man? Will you just listen to him? Be reasonable. Look, Brody, you started a panic on a public beach. You shot up the damn place. God knows who you could have injured. Now, what if somebody decides to sue us? Did you ever stop to think about that? It could ruin us.
You don't have to worry about being sued or being ruined. If this turns out to be what I think it is, because there won't be anybody here.
Yeah, now, Martin, let's not,
Let's not what, Larry? What?
Oh, Jesus, Larry, huh? Come on, let's just forget it. He won't listen. It's obvious the man has made up his mind.
You bet your life I've made up my mind. But I'm telling you and I'm telling everybody at this table that that's a shark. And I know what a shark looks like because I've seen one up close. And you better do something about this one because I don't intend to go through that hell again.
And then they go into a closed door meeting and basically decide to fire him.
Those jerks. Idiot. Oh, God. Drives me crazy.
So now we have our teens at the bar. The teens are at a bar? They're not even 21. And they're just like ordering drinks.
Small town. This is the 70s. You didn't have to like, you could be like 13 to drink.
13.
It's the 70s. This was a different time,
And so like one of the new girls that all the guys think is hot, she's like, Mike, are you going to come sailing with us tomorrow? He's like, oh, I can't. I got to paint. My dad doesn't want me sailing. Do you always do what your parents tell you? And then he's like, no. She's like, okay, see you tomorrow at 8. I was like, dang.
Wow. That's like the fastest giving in to peer pressure I think I've ever seen.
So
Mike Brody has no moral center whatsoever. He's like, sell out? Say no to my dad? Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. So the next morning, Michael is getting ready to go. And the little brother is like, I want to come with you. And he's like, no, you're not coming. And he threatens to like wake up mom and dad. So of course he has to bring him. I mean, little brothers are the most annoying.
Annoying little brothers, the worst.
So all the boats, there's like 6 or 7 boats. They head to the lighthouse. And
there's a nice montage of people like eating hot dogs and a lot of ogling of bikini bottoms because it's the 70s. Mm-hmm. It's that kind of movie.
Yeah, and they go past like this diving group. And remember, there's like a diving group that's going underwater.
Oh, right. I forgot about that group. Yeah.
Yeah, and the shark like grazes.
Or as the shark calls them, hors d'oeuvres.
Yeah, he like kind of grazes one of the divers, and they all escape. But
it's one of the great shocks in the movie because if there's a bit of bubbles and suddenly you see this big giant set of teeth lunge at the camera.
Yeah, and so they get this guy, and they all get away, and they got to get back to shore. So I think that guy makes it. I don't think he dies.
I don't think he dies either. I think he's just really, really, really scared.
Yeah, really scared. So then the shark is like, oh man, I got to go after the sailboats.
Oh, doggone it.
Like, I can't believe, like, what? There were like 15 divers and he didn't get one? That was bad.
I hate it when they don't just like sit still for me. Why do you guys keep swimming away?
And then like Brody and his wife wake up and they're like, oh, Michael's not here. And I don't remember that the little brother's name is. But he, like, the mom like doesn't even worry about it because like
it's Mike and Sean Brody.
Okay, so Sean is not home. She's just like, oh, he's just out. And the parents leave for the day and like the housekeeper comes over. I guess she watches Sean.
It's like that line in Parenthood, the first kid you worry so much about, the second kid you let him juggle knives and you hope he just doesn't kill himself. I think it's like, whatever, just be back by dinner.
Yeah,
whatever, kid.
They just think he's like playing somewhere and they're like, okay, well, we're gonna go to work, bye.
It's the 70s. This is before like kids had like smartphones. Like, you gotta check in with your parents. The helicopter parents are like, yeah, this is a different time. This is like, look, you have a key, you have a bike, be home at 6.
Right, but wouldn't you, like, even those parents in the 70s and like 80s, didn't they at least see their kids like in the morning and like check in and then like late, like at night? Like, didn't they at least see them like twice a day?
You'd figure, especially because, the father of this household is a cop. So yeah, you figure there would be check-in. Exactly. Yeah, that's a good point.
All right, so now we're on this is where Tina's joy.
This really lives up to its name.
Yeah.
And by the way, this is where the movie finally starts. I like this movie, but it's the momentum is kind of up and a lot of stopping and starting. I like the scene where Roy Scheider comes home drunk to his wife. It's a very sad scene, and he's supposed to be playing it drunk, and he's really underplaying it. But it's like a long, drawn-out scene, and it's also it's tedious because like he's right.
Yeah.
So the fact that he's so hard on himself is really, it's strictly a plot device. Like, dude, we know we're with you, man. Like the fact that you're so hard on yourself, and suddenly the movie is hard, and you're like, no, man, we saw Jaws 1. We know that you're the only one in this town who's right about this.
And that is kind of a funny bit where him and his wife get into the truck, and there's all these like beer cans on like next to his car door.
It's that kind of night, honey.
Should he have given himself like a DUI? Because because he was fired. So never mind.
He went straight home. He could have like went to the beach and made some figure eights and some wheelies. No, he came straight home. He did the right thing.
All right. All right, well, now we're back on Tina's joy. With Tina and Eddie, her boyfriend. And, like, the rest of the teens are, like, sailing on to the lighthouse. And they're kind of like, let's sit here and make out.
Sounds great to me.
And then Jaws just decides to, like, bump their boat. And
they're
Eddie
teens.
falls out.
This is a teen horror film. If they're doing the doobage or if they're messing around, they have to die.
You're right.
The virgins always live. The kids who are a little promiscuous and want to experiment with drugs and live a little wilder, those are always the first to go.
Yeah, you're right. You're the first one that pointed that out to me. I didn't realize that. But anyways, Jaws, like, pushes the boat, like, far away.
Well, he's big. This is a big shark. Yeah, he takes it for
So Eddie is just, like, in the water, and Jaws is on the other side of Tina's joy, and Tina's just like, Eddie, swim! Swim, Eddie, there's a shark! I mean, he's so far away. There's no way. There's no way.
That he'd hear her?
No, that he would make it back to the boat.
No, I mean, I appreciate her enthusiasm.
Yeah. But he swims under the boat.
He has no chance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He swims under the boat, and Eddie's a goner. And then...
It's a shocking bit. Yeah. I mean, it's the bit where Eddie, like, surfaces for a second, and he's breathing really heavily. It's an intense bit, and then he gets pulled right under, and that's it for him. And then Tina... What did she say? She's like, "Mommy."
No, she's kind of like, leave us alone.
Yeah,
she goes into shock. Basically.
Yeah, no, that's strong stuff. That's a good choice.
She just kind of like crawls into like inside the boat and like lays down.
Yeah.
So she's like hiding.
Yeah.
She doesn't know what to do. Maybe she thinks like, maybe if he doesn't see me, he'll leave.
It is pretty awful.
And that's kind of exactly what happens.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's pretty awful that, the last thing Eddie heard was, swim, Eddie, faster, faster, bye, Eddie, bye.
But I feel like if like the shark can't see people, he just is like, oh, well, I thought there were two people. I guess there was only one. He like off to find some more teens to kill.
So many teens for the shark to munch on.
So we see the divers come back to shore and the guy like got an embolism, but they don't even mention a shark because embolism guy is like unconscious.
Yeah.
And nobody else saw Jaws.
Yeah. Later on, it's Tina that says the word, which is, it's a great bit.
Yeah, but they mention the kids are headed to the lighthouse and, Brody and his wife are like, what? Like, Mike is sailing? Oh, we gotta go. So they basically steal the police boat with his lame lackey who...
Yeah. Fine, I guess we'll just do something illegal together. Come on. Gosh, I hate this. It's so boring.
But what's funny is Chief Brody doesn't really know anything about
that's
boats
interesting.
and water.
Not a thing. I mean, he's the sheriff of this town, and it seems like this is his first time ever going on the water.
Because he's like, well, which way is the lighthouse? And the guy tries to give him like very specific directions.
Longitude, latitude,
and he's
point.
Like, just point. Like, what? You live here and you don't know anything?
Wouldn't that be a requirement of being a police officer? Because don't you have to get on a police boat?
Apparently, that's what...
I guess he has his lackeys do that for him.
He's got this dodo brains for that job.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No wonder
He's like, I drive the trucks, you drive the boat.
No wonder the politicians are running this town.
Yeah. Anyways, so they come upon Tina's joy, and Tina is like terrified and freaking out, and she just yells, "Shark!"
Yeah, and it's great because then the Brody's like, "Oh, ding, 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 we get it."
Yeah. So then another boat comes. Oh yeah, and this whole time he's like radioing like the chopper. So there's like other boats and a chopper. Like lots of people kind of know what's going on, but nope, it's not really a coordinated effort.
There's a missed opportunity here. The film could have really amped up the suspense because at this point, I mean, Brody is like James Bond when he's disavowed, when everybody's after him. There could have been some real suspense in the local law, not to mention the idiots, idiot cops that Brody mentored. If they're after him, that might have been really fun to like have it be a sort of a double chase.
Ooh.
That would have been nice because at this point it's established that the idiots on shore who don't believe him are the villains. The shark is just a shark.
Right.
But at this point, I mean, that moron mayor and then Lorraine Gary's awful boss.
Yeah, because once they find out that he's taken the police boat, I mean, they have every reason in the world to want to arrest him.
We should be like a manhunt. So this guy, we fired him last night. He stole a police boat and he's in unauthorized waters and he's telling everybody to head out to a part of the water because he's still on this shark hunt. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that could have been really, yeah. I mean, there's a lot going on in this film already, but still, I mean, you could have amped up the suspense easily that way.
All right, so another boat picks up Tina and Brody's wife.
Excuse me.
And the terrible other police guy. And so Brody continues. You okay?
Sorry about that. It's treading water like a shark.
So Brody continues with the police boat and he goes to find the kids. So the shark is attacking the other boats and like flipping them over. And, no, it's fine.
Okay.
And then Michael like falls in the water and he's just kind of like hanging out. Thankfully he's wearing a life vest, but it's a lot of like now it's all the kids just kind of like trying to make sure they don't fall in the water, getting people back up, Jaws, like all these like near misses. So it is suspenseful.
It's very suspenseful. There's a great shot where they're pulling Mike out of the water and Jaws is just about to get him and they put the camera on the fin so you see the kids pull the legs out just before the teeth can get him. It's in a great moment.
Well, and they're also like trying to pull him up and then they drop him back in and you're like, no, like, come on, there's like two of you and Michael is a string bean.
Yeah, there's some great suspense in this. Although I got to say, this is when the illusion of the shark starts to fall apart because they show the shark so much during this portion of the movie.
Yeah.
And there is a shot, I think they found like some stock footage of just a regular looking shark swimming around. And man, is that different from what we've been looking at? Because the real shark, for one thing, it's positioned where we don't see the side of his face that would be burned, okay. But the fact that it's so like agile and the way it's so graceful and it looks small compared to the big mechanical thing that they have, lugging around in the water. So I think they should have avoided like all the stock footage and just kept to their shark. But the thing is, the mechanical shark, like it is the opposite of the first one. They show it too much. The quick cuts are very effective. But when they linger on it, it does look like one of those ghosts in the haunted mansion in Disneyland, where it's like where like it pops up, its head bops back and forth and it pops back down. Like you could really see like there's a real lack of mobility as much as it looks good as a prop.
Did you ever go on like the Hollywood backlot tour?
Universal Studios tour? Yes, I did.
And you went on the tram, and then you end up on that bridge, and then like Jaws like attacks.
Gets attacked by Bruce. Yeah, sure did.
And it kind of reminds me of that because that is so unbelievable. Because that shark wasn't,
Yeah, well, I mean, the fact that it could be out of the water that long, and its teeth are like, it was funny because the last time I was there was 1990. It's been that long since I've been at Universal Studios, California, and Florida, for that matter, the same year. And they had the big pool outside, and it has this fake backdrop of like a big blue sky, but it's this big giant mural. And that's where they shot the majority of Jaws: The Revenge. They explain like almost all of the outdoor, at sea moments where, the shark battle is happening. It was all on this particular lot. It's good stuff.
That's cool. All right, so only one of these rinky-dink boats still works after Jaws attacks all of them. Mm-hmm. And so since Michael is kind of unconscious, two guys like take him back, but they don't take his little brother.
It's pretty ridiculous. It's like, what happened to women and children first? These guys grew up in this environment.
Well, you would think like, all right,
it's a sinking ship. The kids and the chicks go first.
They can't fit everyone into this tiny boat, but
it's not that tiny though.
Yeah, it is.
It's not that tiny.
They're teeny. These are like 4-person boats, 4 or 5 people.
If a shark attacked me, I would say, okay, like get up on the flag post. Like you guys like let's get rid of the anchor and let's get as many bodies in this thing. No, seriously, like this was an easy fix. This is like the whole thing of like Leonardo DiCaprio at the end of Titanic. Could he have fit in that? Yes, he could have. It's the same thing here. It's ridiculous.
James Cameron has debunked that, so he could
sure
not have
he
fit.
has. Yeah, what did he
has.
Yes, the creator of the Na'vi. Yes. Thank you, Mr. Cameron.
No, he has debunked that.
How did he debunk it? He's this. What did he use CGI to make it slightly bigger?
No,
it's ridiculous.
Google it. He's talked about that it would be like physically impossible for them both to fit on that door.
Is he afraid to admit that Rose Dawson is just greedy and wanted to survive more than him? Or rather that in that moment of sad, quiet, freezing desperation, she's like, you know, you were just the boy I met yesterday. So she just like sends him packing to the bottom of the ocean.
Yeah, he doesn't want to admit that. So he has like a full like scientific reason for why it doesn't work.
Scientific reason for a human reaction? That's ridiculous.
Just telling you, that's what I read. Okay, back to the movie we're actually talking about. Yeah, so the boat takes Michael and not his little brother, which is crazy to me.
Yes, it is.
I mean, because the boat...
It's a pure plot device that so many of them are still on this little dinky thing waiting.
That's true. Then we see the helicopter finally.
Oh, the helicopter scene.
Because all these kids, teens, are, you know, they've like roped their boats together.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And no one has food, no one has water. Like, what?
I'm sure they got, you know what, I bet they got like beef jerky and beers. That's it. No. And maybe a few of them brought some condoms, but beyond that, that's as far thinking as they went. They probably expected to be out there for like a little while, and then we're going to go back to the bar.
Yeah. What if all
back to Cheers Junior?
What if all they found on Tina's Joy was just like condoms and beer?
And condoms full of beer. Yeah, exactly.
Like, oh, that's why it's called Tina's Joy. It makes sense.
Okay, we got to ration out these beers, guys. Might be out here for a while.
So this helicopter finds the kids, and they're like, "Yay!" And he lands on the water, and he's like, "I'm gonna tow you guys to Cable Junction, and you know, is everybody okay?" And then Jaws,
the shark eats the helicopter.
He eats the helicopter.
It's fantastic. It's so ridiculous, and man, does the fake shark look very fake in these moments. But boy, it's pretty outrageous. Because you think like, man, this thing could like probably attack like a bus at this point. So it eats a good portion of the helicopter and basically takes the helicopter out of the equation.
Yeah, and he swallows one of the girls whole.
Yeah,
Marge.
Well, he's really hungry at this point. He's worked up an appetite.
I guess. But, like, it's sad because she jumps in the water to save the little brother, and then she gets eaten. So, like, somebody who wasn't bad, you know, karma didn't work in her favor in the, like, monster movie universe. You
know, she might have been having weed or drinking or having unprotected sex that day. So maybe she deserved to die in this movie's moral, you know, in the moral equation of a teen horror film. Yeah, maybe.
Oh my gosh. All right, so
the shark's like, is that weed? Okay,
so Brody finds Michael and his two friends, and he's like telling them that he's like, the rest of them are going to Cable Junction and with your other son. And that's when he's like, my other son.
He's like, oh, that's right. I have another son. Totally forgot about that. What's his name? Sean. Sean, that's it.
Man, I guess I should have like tried to find him this morning and like figured out he was with you guys, but I don't know. I just got fired out of I was hungover, so, you know, wasn't being like the greatest parent.
So yeah, this is the point where the wife goes back, right? Where Lorraine Gary goes back to shore.
Yeah.
And she sees her boss.
Yeah.
And man, what a missed opportunity. We needed, like, remember the end of Die Hard where William Atherton as the paparazzi TV guy gets punched in the face?
Yes.
This is the moment we needed that here. Because, like, why is this guy still in the movie? Because he's wrong at this point, and she's completely within her rights to slug this idiot in the face, which is what we needed. Or to, like, headbutt him and the mayor really hard and, like, knock them out.
Or at least say, like, if he tries to fire her and she's like, you can't fire me because I quit. You know, something like that.
Yeah.
But nothing really happens.
Or, I hope the shark gets you. I would have loved that.
Yeah. We're going to turn you into chum. All right, so Brody makes it to Cable Junction or
plot device junction, Cable Junction. It's like, the movie's like, you following along?
Which is silly because this is where the electricity for the island is stored or something? It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, it's screenplay plot device island. That's what it is.
Okay, so he's trying to like get the kids, and then the shark is messing with his plans, and he ends up crashing his police boat.
Because as established, he is not a sailor at all.
He does not know how to maneuver boats. And then he discovers the electric cable, and then he comes up with a plan to knock on the cable to get the shark to come over to it.
I like it when he first starts doing this. He starts doing this, and the teen's like, "What is he doing? What is wrong with your dad?" I love that, because if you don't know what he's doing, it does seem like the most insane thing. Like, man, Sheriff Brody has completely lost it.
Yeah.
He's climbed on this cord. He's basically acting like Floss for this shark. He's banging on. He's like, come on, you son of a, come on.
Yeah.
He does look like a completely crazy person.
He's in like a little blow up rubber boat.
Yeah, it's very
hanging onto this cable.
There's not a lot of dignity to watching him climb onto this thing, but I love the way the film, like, okay, let's let him just climb on the thing and whack onto it and look kind of preposterous. But
yeah, because he's determined to save these kids,
Yes.
which, is obviously
even if it
heroic.
means electrocuting him and all of them.
Yeah, well, I mean, he's playing the odds that won't happen.
Yeah, there's some interesting odds, because those kids, I mean, even though they're on the island, such as it is submerged in water. I mean, if the electricity, got really spectacular, I mean, they all could have gotten fried.
Well, that's true. But Brody's like, hey, I'm in a rubber boat. I'm safe.
He's like, this is the best plan I got, and I'm going with it.
Yeah. So here comes Jaws, and he's going to go after Brody.
Dun, dun, dun,
and
dun,
he
dun,
just
dun,
like
dun, dun,
lunges
dun, dun,
up
dun.
and grabs this electrical wire and
Bites down.
spectacularly just...
And Brody, what does he say right before the shark gets it? Say, ah!
Yeah.
In the first movie, he says, smile, you son of a, which is a lot better than say, ah!
Yeah.
Yeah.
So our shark gets electrocuted, catches on fire, and it
Yeah.
fireworks.
I gotta say, it doesn't look like what would happen if a shark bit into electrical wire. It looks exactly what would happen if a mechanical shark bit into electrical wire. Yeah, because there's sparks, there's fire. It's a little too spectacular considering that this is a giant shark.
Yeah.
But okay, whatever movie.
And
It's
all the kids
spectacular.
are like, woohoo! Like
Yeah.
cheering.
It's like, whoa, we're stuck on this island with a guy who crashed a boat and doesn't know how to sail. All right,
Yeah.
we're saved.
And then, I mean, that's basically the movie.
He gives his son a hug. He's like, sure you will. Because his son was like sorry, Dad, I should have stayed at home. and roll credits.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, I mean, I would have liked, I know, I get it. I like when movies do this. Like, look, we don't need an epilogue. The movie's over. You want to go home. But, I mean, this character deserves a redemption, for Pete's sake. This guy has saved this town twice. And he's proven...
does he get his job back?
We need to see him get his job back. We need to see him become mayor. We need to see him be given the keys to the city. We need to see Lorraine Gary's boss and the other mayor get put in jail. We need a mega happy ending here, because this guy, we basically watched the last temptation of Brody. We watched his saddest, most despairing moment. And then the ultimate redemption of all time, and then the movie ends. Let's see this guy, get the hero's welcome he deserves. I think.
You think?
I would have been willing to sit for 5 more minutes just for a montage of him, of Brody's comeback. Yeah.
Aw. But how do they get back to Amity?
Exactly. How do they get back to Amity?
All their boats are sunk.
Yeah.
Literally.
It's his lackeys, in a little inflatable. Come on, you guys, row. God, I hate this job.
Rowboats.
Come on, guys, row faster. Gosh.
They're in canoes.
Stole this from a tourist. I hate this.
Yeah, whenever I thought about this movie, it's like Jaws 2. I'm like, oh yeah, is that the one where the kids electrocute that shark?
Yeah.
Yeah. I always thought it was great.
Oh, it is great. I mean, it looks fake, but it looks great. This is the movie that gave us, I gotta say, Universal, what they didn't know, they never knew what they were doing in terms of production, because, famously they almost fired Spielberg on the first one when Spielberg was the glue that held it together, and Spielberg came up with the brilliant idea. the shark isn't working, so let's shoot around it and have the John Williams score and the suggestion of the shark be the thing, as opposed to showing so much of it. And that wound up being a brilliant idea.
And it was way scary.
Way scarier by suggesting the threat as opposed to literally showing it. And this sequel also, you see the pluses and minuses of that. And, they had a problem with the second film, too. They fired the original director. They had all sorts of issues. But on the other hand, they knew all four of these movies were marketed brilliantly. And this, of course, is the film that gave us the tagline, just when you thought it was safe to go back in the water. And as a kid, I would always think you mean the pool? What do you mean exactly in the water? Because I would be in the bathtub and I would be, mom would be like, I'll be back in a minute. I'd be in that bubble bath. I would close my eyes and be like, and I'd be think are there sharks in here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know. I was always scared. I'm like, what if I'm in a swimming pool and a shark gets in? How would that even happen?
I don't know. I've had that thought many times, and I've been, I'd swim in a pool at nighttime, and it gets to the point where the water is dark and you can't see. I would have those stupid thoughts there's a shark in here. Doesn't make any sense. A shark wouldn't do so good with the chlorine and all this, and all the chlorine in the pool. But I'd have those thoughts, and it comes from just when you thought it was safe to go back in the water. The sprinkler.
How about a slip and slide? Is that safe?
If I'm gonna go, I want to be on a slip and slide, and dun 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 dun. I look up ahead, and there's this shark with his jaws open,
At the
trying
end
to get
in the splash
dun,
pool.
Dun, dun. Oh yeah, if you're gonna go, that's how you want to go.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So Jaws 3, when it came out in 1983, it was famous for being in 3D, and it was the top grossing 3D movie of the 80s, which is hard to believe because the 3D end is pretty pitiful. But they try to connect it with this film because the character that Dennis Quaid plays and his co-star, they're supposed to be the Brody boys older, now working at SeaWorld. And then, of course, you have Jaws The Revenge in 1987, which is considered to be the worst of the Jaws movies. It's not. The third one's the worst one. The fourth one at least tries to be a Jaws movie. It really wants to be the first movie, and it can't. It's not that good. Lorraine Gary is fine, but she can't quite carry the movie. And Michael Caine, as hard as he tries, it's a silly movie. Everybody looks silly in it, but at least they're trying to make it a Jaws movie. It's set in Amity for most of the film. But this is a franchise that went off the rails really quickly. What's interesting, though, is that Universal, they had no sense of humor about this franchise until it was too late. Because, and you've asked me, what do I talk to my stepmother about when we carpool to school together in the morning? This is honestly something we've talked about a lot this year. It keeps coming up for some reason with the Jaws movie. So Jaws 3. It was originally a screenplay that was a parody making fun of the Jaws movies, and the title was Jaws 3 People Zero. That was the first joke. And it was going to be directed by Joe Dante, and it was going to be a full-on parody of the Jaws movies the way that the airplane movies are a parody of the airport movies. And Universal said, no, this is our cash cow. Jaws is our biggest franchise at the time it was. They're we are not going to make fun of these movies. How dare you? So they made Jaws 3D, which ended up being a self-parody anyway. And then you get the Jaws 4, The Revenge, which is also unintentionally hilarious. So these movies ended up being a total parody of themselves. And when this movie came out, when Jaws 2 came out, you already had the land shark bit that Chevy Chase was doing on Saturday Night Live. Steven Spielberg in his movie 1941, which came out in 1979, opens with a Jaws parody. So, people were ready to laugh at Jaws. But it's interesting, though, because, for example, can you imagine if Universal now would, allow a Jurassic Park sequel to be a parody, to be, a comedy about itself, or, a Fast and Furious movie, instead of these movies kind of being the self-parodies that they already are. Yeah.
They should, because now they're saving baby dinosaurs and doing all sorts of crazy stuff.
They've been going on for so long that they've gone past the ridiculous. They're very entertaining and they're all well done, and I enjoy all of them to various degrees. But it's interesting that they wanted the Jaws movies to be, an intentional comedy as opposed to sort of the unintentional comedies that they became. And the same is true for the Fast and Furious movies. We're on Fast 10, although it's really Fast 11 if you count Hobbs and Shaw. And these movies, we all laugh at these movies now because they're beyond ridiculous, but that's also part of the appeal. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, but the first one is still the best. It's still the scariest. There is a decapitated head gag in the first one. It's still one of the biggest jumps I've ever had watching a movie. It's great. It's a solid film. And the scene where, I don't know, do you remember the first one? Well. Where the three of them, where Dreyfus, Shaw, and Scheider are sitting in the boat, and they're telling the story of the Indianapolis, the story of the ship that sank and the shark attacks. That is such a chilling scene. It's a great scene. And it's dialogue driven. It's so good. And I've always wanted a Jaws prequel to show that, to depict the Indianapolis scene. I always thought that would be a good direction of it. But yeah, like when we go, Jaws 2 ends abruptly, and then Jaws 3, no mention of Sheriff Brody. And then you get to Jaws 4, you see the sheriff's office, and there's a framed picture of Roy Scheider in the office to indicate, I guess, that he's dead.
Wow.
Yeah, because I guess they just kill. I think they kill him off, and then the sons pick up the mantle. Though one of the sons gets eaten in the first scene of the movie. I don't think they really, on the one hand, they weren't planning long term. Like, they really weren't thinking about, how we properly do these sequels. I was like, okay, this is an opportunity to make a lot of money because it's Jaws. But there was a better way to do these. I don't know. Part of me hopes that they do one more of these. I would like Jaws: The Return and have Steven Spielberg direct.
Yeah.
Have him do one more Jaws movie.
Who would be like the Brody character?
Well, let's see. I think you can bring back Richard Dreyfuss. Mm-hmm. And I would want Viggo Mortensen to play the son of Quint.
Oh.
Son of Quint, yeah.
Okay, wait, and is Michael alive or Sean alive?
That's a good question. That's where you cast the young stud actor. So I would say...
Like Hemsworth?
Oh, yeah, you're right. You'd have to cast a Hemsworth at this point. Yeah, at this point in time, it's got to be a Hemsworth. So let's go with... who's Thor? Is that Chris? Chris Hemsworth?
I think so.
I think so, yeah. So Chris Hemsworth, I don't know. They're all interchangeable to me.
Yeah, so you have Chris Hemsworth, Viggo Mortensen, and Richard Dreyfuss?
Richard Dreyfuss.
Yes, I would totally watch this. And what's the story then?
The story then is that...
Wait, did the mom survive in the fourth one?
Yeah, and I think Lorraine Gary, she's 85. She's still with us, so she could be in it.
Did they kill that shark in the fourth one?
They did.
Okay.
Yes, she used the pointy at the top of her boat to stab the shark, and as they do, the shark roars like a lion. I'm not making this up.
Okay.
And there's a scene where Michael Caine, he tries to crash his plane into the shark, and he fails, and then he survives, and he gets out of the water, and his clothes are all dry, and he goes, "Oh, the breath in that thing!"
Oh my gosh!
Yeah.
Wow.
Jaws Revenge.
Okay, so with Jaws: The Return, I think they need to get to the bottom of the fact that like this is the same from the same line as the first one, and they need to like figure out how to stop it. But are they back in Amity?
Yeah, I don't think they should explain, like, because I said that earlier. Like, I don't know if you really want a definitive explanation why sharks are drawn to this town,
right?
Other than maybe like a mythic thing, like there's something about this town, it's haunted, whatever it is. But like, don't make it definitive. Just like let it be ambiguous.
That's
like
fine.
why? Yeah.
Okay.
And if you really want to bring people in, the love theme from Jaws: The Return is written and sung by Taylor Swift.
Okay.
And it's going to be a love song about the shark.
No.
The shark, because the shark is in love with Chris Hemsworth. So that's what the song's about.
And then the song, then they have the shark like swimming, and it's like, "It's me, hi, I'm the problem, it's me," from the shark's point of view.
This is all working for me.
Yes, I'm loving this idea.
Yeah, Jaws 5. Mm-hmm. Jaws V, Jaws: The Return.
Okay.
Yeah.
So is there a sheriff or like a lifeguard?
At least a lifeguard? Yeah, sure. Do we want it to be a Brody? Maybe the surviving Brody is the sheriff of this town. Sure, nothing has happened in this town. Let's see, 87 was the last Jaws movie, so nothing has happened in this town for over 30 years.
It's been 3 decades.
Yeah.
And then a shark,
and suddenly a bunch of shark attacks
finally comes back. Yes.
How about we make it a family of sharks?
Oh.
Yeah.
It's like a mom, a dad, and like a baby.
They kill the shark and they think like, oh, it's over. But it turns out there's 4 more of these things.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, so then they finally, like, they kill, like, the whole pod that's, like, have turned killer. And then that's it. They, like, bring some, like, biologist scientist in.
Exactly.
And she's like, okay, we've tested, all the sharks and, like...
Played by Michelle Rodriguez with glasses.
Okay, yeah. And then they're like, okay, you have stopped the killer line of whatever these are.
And then the way we get Richard Dreyfuss to say the line, "You're going to need a bigger boat," after they've killed the 5th shark and the movie is already 2 hours at this point, and we think the film is over, suddenly a huge tentacle comes out of the water and a giant octopus surrounds the boat. And that's when Dick Dreyfuss says, "You're going to need a bigger boat." And it becomes this machine gun battle against this giant octopus.
What? Now there's an octopus in here?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So it's like turns into like 25,000 Leagues Under the Sea.
At this point, it's like 35,000 Leagues Under the Sea. Oh, yeah. It's like, yeah, we got to make it a mega movie with a big ending with the giant octopus.
Do they kill the octopus?
They do. But then another octopus tentacle comes up, and it's twice as big as the last one. And Dick Dreyfuss goes, "We're still going to need a bigger boat."
No!
And then you play roll credits, and that's when Taylor Swift's love song comes on. Taylor Swift's love theme to Jaws: The Return. Seriously, this is a $1 billion idea.
This is amazing.
Oh yeah.
I hope Paramount.
Universal.
I hope somebody listens to this episode.
Oh yeah. So I'm sure Steven Spielberg's like, you know what I really want to do? Make another Jaws movie. To go back to this film, because he had said no. And famously, apparently, they asked him, like, what do you do? He's like, no, I already made the definitive shark movie. And you hear that, like, wow, that young in his career, and he says, I made the definitive shark movie. It sounds pretentious, but you know what? It's 2023, and yes, he made the definitive shark movie. He was not kidding. He knew it even back then. So apparently he says no, and then they ran into some trouble. They fired the original director, and then he said he was thinking about it. He actually thought about coming back, but like he was busy making Close Encounters, and they're like, no, we need this thing out now. We got to finish this thing now. They could have waited, because I like this film. I do. But, I mean, Spielberg is the man when it comes to this. He really cracked the code with the original film. As many have said before me, I mean, the first movie could have been just a B monster film. He made it Hitchcock. He made it about suspense. He made it about suggesting the threat. He really reinvented a monster movie, and he reinvented movies.
Okay. Rate all the Jaws movies. So, number 1, how many stars?
4.
Okay, number 2.
3.
Number 3.
1.
Number 4.
1.5.
Wow, you're giving the last one half a star more?
Yeah, because it's bad, but I think it's slightly better than 3, which I think is... 3 is weird. Like, it's just not exciting. It's got this, not only does it have SeaWorld, but it's got this underwater SeaWorld, so it's got this quasi-sci-fi thing going on. It's got Dennis Quaid and Leah Thompson and Louis Gossett Jr. and Bess Armstrong, and it's not exciting. It's really not that fun. The special effects are embarrassing.
Okay.
It feels like a TV movie. It really does. Whereas at least the 4th one, they're failing, but they're trying. They're trying to make it exciting. And parts of, I swear, there are parts of Jaws: The Revenge that are good. There's just not a lot of them.
Well, I agree with you that the first one is technically a better film, but I like Jaws 2 more as like a movie watching experience. So I'm going to give it 3.5 stars.
Wow.
For Jaws 2.
Wow, my goodness. Mm-hmm. Do you just like that it's basically, it's a teen thriller. Do you like that?
Yeah, I just think it's fun. Because these teens are just so dumb.
Yeah, you're happy to see them end up as chum. You really are. And they're all wearing their little Buster Brown hats and their bell bottoms. And they're,
Yeah. I mean, they're just funny. Yeah. Because it's like, okay, you guys should not even be out on these sailboats. But here we go. We're doing this.
You will be, for your weed and your lust, you will be punished, kids. In the most awful way possible.
That's right. All right, well, any final thoughts?
Dun, 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 dun.
All right, well, I think that wraps it up, our discussion of Jaws 2.
Good night, everyone.